Hey guys, my name's Crystal Kenny, and I'm in love with creating. All things artistic and imagination involved. I'm an American girl who chased her creative dreams all the way to Paris, France, making a living using photography. This podcast takes you inside the stories of all the artsy folks I've met along the way and gives you that extra push to discover your creative gifts. The desire to create is deeply inside each and every one of us, and I give you the tools and inspiration to find a new way of living a more creative life. This is La Vie Creative, the podcast. Claudine Hemingway is a descendant of famed writer Ernest Hemingway. We bumped into each other at a party and decided to team up and dive deep into French history, but with a twist, by bringing a spotlight to those lesser-known creatives in France. This is History with a Hemingway. Welcome back to Paris History avec Hemingway, and today we are talking about Madame de Lamballe. I know I'm saying that wrong. I just said to Claudine, it sounds like Rambo or something, but it's like Ramball, like a ball. Okay, got it. Claudine, you tell us the information because I can't even say this woman's name.
Yeah, this is, we're doing a little like 4 or 5 episodes in a row that's all about some of the ladies that were around Marie Antoinette, and she is yet another one of them. Madame de Lamballe is her name, and she was the daughter of the Prince Louis Victor of Savoy and Christine Henriette de Hesse-Rheinfeld-Rothenburg. It's in a whole mouthful.
I'm gonna say that 3 times fast.
Yeah. Her sister was the Duchess of de Bourbon, and she was intended to marry Louis XV. But when they found out she had low fertility, she went on to marry and become the Queen of Spain.
Oh, the fertility makes you become the Queen of Spain.
So I guess it was okay to not have an heir as the Queen of Spain and not Louis XV. And also, I'm not really sure how they checked that back then.
Yeah, seriously, how did they know that?
Yeah, I have no idea. But Marie-Thérèse Louise de Savoie-Carignan was the Princess de Lamballe.
Rambo.
She was known for her very soft and beautiful looks, and she was raised in a very strict household in Turin. She was born in Italy.
Oh, pretty.
Yeah, so her parents, were expected a lot of their children, and as a teenager, she was offered to marry many different people. Her parents kept turning them all away until the Duke of Penthievre wanted his son, Louis-Alexandre, the Prince of Lamballe, to marry her.
The Prince of Rambo.
Prince of Rambo. He was the great-great-grandson of Louis XIV, descendant of Madame de Montespan, who we've talked about before.
Montespan, yes.
Yeah, she's the one with the witchcraft. She was, her children were actually legitimized by Louis XV, under the urging of Madame de Maintenon. So they were all legitimized, and so he is one of the descendants of that family.
Interesting.
Yeah. On January 17th, 1767, in Turin, she married by proxy at the end of that period to the Duc de Lamballe, and she, of course, didn't see him yet because it was by proxy. And she arrived later on in the month to Nangy, which is in the southeast of Paris.
So she made it.
She was 17 years old. He was 19.
Oh, wow.
And he was quite the ladies' man, which marriage didn't really stop him in his pursuits. He would disappear for days at a time, and Madame, would just be back there spending a lot of her time with her father-in-law, who she really enjoyed, and they had a very close relationship, thankfully, because his son and her husband really was not a very great guy.
You think she was with the dad?
No, I don't think so. But he was basically, he gave her a bunch of jewelry and was always showering her with, these beautiful gems and necklaces and everything. But then he would take them and give them to his mistresses and to his different we'll call them whores.
He was re-gifting the jewels?
He was re-gifting her jewelry to all of these mistresses. So he would go out all the time and, you know, sleep with all of these different prostitutes and women and mistresses, and then come back and sleep with her and bring back all of his lovely diseases he picked up along the way.
Oh, God. That's terrible.
So the poor thing. But on February 5th, 1767, at a ball at Versailles, she was presented to Louis XV, who found her quite amazing and charming.
Even with all the diseases?
Yeah, well, I don't think that the markings of that had appeared quite yet, because that was pretty early. But to celebrate their wedding, they also had a huge dinner of 130 people that was held at the Hotel Toulouse, which is now the Bank de France. That's over. It's not very far from the Louvre. It's near the Marais.
I've done shoots there. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it's an amazing, amazing place. It's opened yearly at the Patrimoine weekend, which is the third weekend in September. And I got to go inside there and see it. And that one hall is just amazing. It looks like it rivals the Hall of Mirrors at Versailles.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's gorgeous. Yeah, it's huge. It's such a big place.
Yeah, it's very huge. It was built in 1640 for Louis Philippot de la Villiers, and it was built to hold his art collection that he had. He wanted it to be something like the Apollo Gallery at the Louvre. But in 1713, it was sold to Louis-Alexandre de Bourbon, who was the Count of Toulouse, which is now where we have the name. He was the son of Louis XIV and Madame de Montespan, so another one. After his death, he gave it to his son, Louis Jean-Marie, who was her father-in-law.
That was nice.
Yeah. So she spent a lot of her time there while her husband was out cavorting. He ended up, of course, you know, as I said, contracting all sorts of diseases and bringing back to her, where it ended up being that her face and her body were scarred from the different venereal diseases that he.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah. So he wasn't around for very long, because on May 6, 1768, at just 20 years old, he died of syphilis.
At 20? Oh my gosh, he was a baby.
He had 20 years old. Yeah. So she moved into the Hotel Toulouse, and then she also moved into a cottage that was at the Chateau de Rambouillet that the Duke had, and he built this little cottage for her. And she was so upset by seeing her own image, because her scars were so bad, that in the little cottage he had the mirrors covered up with and decorated with shells, so she didn't have to see herself.
Gosh, that is depressing. That sounds like some kind of Disney movie or something.
Yeah, it does, but it's so sweet of him.
yeah, nice.
Yeah. Shortly after Marie Antoinette married Louis XVI, Lamballe was met the young Austrian Dauphin, and they became very quick friends.
Like that?
Yeah.
How come syphilis didn't kill her?
The what?
How come syphilis didn't kill her?
I don't know. Maybe it was the other venereal diseases he gave her and not syphilis.
Interesting.
Maybe he got syphilis and then that was just it.
Yeah.
They'd only been married for a little over a year.
Oh my gosh, so quickly.
Yeah. So Marie Antoinette, you know, of course, when she arrived, she was 15 years old when she arrived at court. And so she had very few friends and very few people she actually could trust. So the two ladies actually became very good friends. She was invited to spend time at court quite often. And eventually Marie Antoinette actually gave her a big suite of rooms at Versailles and named her the superintendent of the Queen's house.
That's a good friend to have.
Yeah, it's a very good friend to have. In 1774, Marie and another woman that came through that our next episode next week will be about, Gabrielle de Polignac. She was very light and happy and just wanted to have fun. And Lamballe was very serious and quiet and enjoyed her time with Marie Antoinette, just sitting and reading and talking.
Well, wasn't that lovely of them?
It was very lovely. So as she kind of got tired with her court life, and she didn't want to be around everything anymore. That's when Polignac, which, again, we'll talk about next week, kind of came into play. And then poor Lamballe was kind of pushed aside. Even though she was still the superintendent of the Queen's house, she kind of fell out of favor with her.
You don't want to do that.
You don't want to do that. So, but in November 1775, she purchased the Hotel d'Eau, and then Marie Antoinette became queen on May 10th of 1774. And the next year is when their relationship kind of really started to sour. And when she purchased the hotel, but she also had purchased another property just on the outskirts of Paris in Passy, which now is in Paris.
Very much in Paris.
Very much in Paris. She purchased this property in 1783. It was at the time, it was considered the countryside. It was known for its mineral water, which was also, it would help with healing. And the Duke, her father-in-law, she still had been very close with all the time. He was getting older. He wasn't doing very well. So she thought, I'll have a place out here that he could stay at that will hopefully help with his health.
And what happened from there?
Well, that building is a really cool building. It's actually now it's the Turkish embassy. But if you go out there, it's very close to where the Balzac Museum is. It's in his former home, which is it's a very small place to go see, but it's really cool. It's one of the Paris museums, so it's free. But you could go and just you walk a couple blocks and you could find the gate, of course, where this house is. And there's a plaque there on the wall. It was a really cool classical stone mansard roof. It was built in the 17th century for Duc de Lezon, who moved in when he was 72 years old with his 15-year-old wife.
Ew.
Gross. And so one thing I read said, the poor thing, then he lived 28 more years.
Oh my God.
15-year-old probably thought, okay, fine, I'll marry you. You're not going to be around too long.
Yeah, but he lived for like 30 more years.
Yeah, he basically lived to be 100.
Wow, that's like unheard of back then.
Especially back then. But in June 1789, Lamballe had also actually left for England for a little while to take in the waters at Bath, the healing waters. And when she left, everybody thought that she was on some secret mission for the Queen. So the press and the gossips kept talking about it. It was also at the height of the hatred of Marie Antoinette. So it didn't matter if it was really true or not.
When's the revolution coming?
Well, it's coming here pretty quick, but she wasn't, another lady we'll talk about was kind of public enemy number one. Lamballe was kind of, because she was quieter and she wasn't, as out there as some of the other ladies were. But she was incredibly close to Marie Antoinette. So they thought that she was over there, Marie was accused of, giving money to Austria and a bunch of other things. And so they all thought this worked into the plot.
Uh-oh, she's going to get tangled up in it.
Yeah. So on October 5th, 1789 is when the women marched to Versailles and the family was forced to leave for Paris so they could be, under the watchful eye there at the Tuileries Palace. Lamballe was with the Queen the entire time. She never left her. The two of them became very close again. So, I think that once she realized how devoted and loyal she was, Marie Antoinette kind of warmed back up to her.
So they became besties again at the end.
They became besties again at the end, and Lamballe moved into the Pavillon de Flore, of the Tuileries, which is still there today. That is part of the Louvre, which is on the very southern end of the Louvre, kind of closer towards the Orsay. She lived there and was close with her and still kept an eye on her. She was still the superintendent of her household. On June 20th, 1791, when the royal family tried to escape, the plan was to go to Montmédy, which is where the princess was sent in advance to wait for them. And when they didn't arrive and she didn't understand what was wrong, because, of course, we know that they were arrested in Varennes, which was 50 kilometers, about 30 miles, before they reached their destination.
Oh, no. So she's just stuck there waiting.
Yeah, she was stuck there waiting. Marie Antoinette, once they were taken back to Paris, and now instead of just being under, watchful eye at the Tuileries, they were basically held captive there. Marie Antoinette kept sending her letters telling her not to return to Paris, to stay there, but she couldn't stay away. And so she, of course, had to come back. When she returned, she came with a special gift for Marie that was a little red and white spaniel that she named Thisbe, which was meaning faithfulness until death.
Oh.
Little did they know. And that was named after a story from Ovid's Metamorphoses. But the queen later changed the name to Mignon, which of course means cute.
It was like such a deep meaning, and then it went to...
Yeah, well, I'm sure she didn't think that that's what was going to happen to her before too long. But on August 10th, 1792, the Tuileries was attacked. The Swiss guards that were watching the family were all killed, and the family was able to escape through the Jardin de Luxembourg, or Jardin de Tuileries, to the Assembly. Lamballe was with them, and a few days later, they were all taken by caravan to the Temple prison.
Oh,
yeah. And of course, we did a whole last year, we did a whole 4-episode arc of Marie Antoinette. So to hear more about that, you have to check those out. But so many people had lined the street that the route that should have taken them, just under, 30 minutes by carriage took 2.5 hours, because so many people were lining the streets to see them be taken away, yelling and screaming at them.
This was before iPhones.
Yes, it's definitely before iPhones. But 7 days later, on August 19th, the overcrowded cells, because they were filled with all of their staff and their servants and everybody, they were everybody was forced to leave except for the king's valet. So everybody had to leave. Marie Antoinette tried to keep Lamballe there, telling her she was family with her husband, which is true. They were, related. But they weren't having any of it. And as they were telling her she had to leave, she was basically clinging to Marie Antoinette. They were hugging each other, and she was screaming and crying. And the guards had to literally pull her away.
Oh, she really was like her best friend. That's so sweet.
Very sad. There was another woman there, Madame Tourzel, with her daughter that was with her. And Marie Antoinette whispered into her ear, telling her to keep an eye on Madame Lamballe, because she said she's not going to be able to handle this, because she was just very, very upset, and she wasn't feeling too well. So they were taken over to the Marais, to the Hôtel de Force, which was a former residence on the Rue de Roi de Sicile. And it was a former residence of Henri Jacques Napon de Caumont, and it was the Duc de la Force. It was a property that was very large. And in 1780, the properties were the smaller building was rebuilt, and it was used to house female prisoners, mostly prostitutes. The larger one was redone to hold male prisoners, mostly for not paying their debts. But here was this poor, Madame de Lamballe and the other ladies being taken there to a bunch of prostitutes were there, and they were singing apparently very lewd and horrible songs and telling all sorts of crazy stories. And
oh my gosh,
poor ladies had to listen to it the whole time.
Does not sound like a great welcome.
It's not a very great welcome, but Marie Antoinette and the family were back there in the Temple prison. So they were the ladies were stuck here. After one night on September 2nd, in the middle of the night, a man came into their cell and woken her daughter, Pauline Tourzel, and she was scared to death, and it was in the dark of night, and her mother just told her to be calm and do what they said. So they didn't know where she was going, but it was actually the Scarlet Pimpernel that was coming, and he took her out. He took the daughter out and saved her.
Ah, she was saved.
She was saved. The daughter was saved. not Madame Lamballe.
Oh, so Madame got left.
She was still there, and the poor young girl's mother. But the Scarlet Pimpernel was Sir Percy Blakeney, who was a Englishman who had saved many of the French aristocrats from the guillotine.
Did he do that for money?
I don't really know a whole lot about that story. I think I read it when I was a kid. But he was just over there trying to save all of these different, I've never come across an aristocrat that actually was saved. This is the first time.
So it actually did happen. We're sure that he saved
it actually did happen, but he wasn't saving the big guys.
Yeah, he saved kids.
Yeah. But they were the next day on September 3rd, they had a trial, and Madame Tourzel and Lamballe were taken before court. And Madame Tourzel was convinced to actually say that she pledged her allegiance to the revolutionaries and not to the royal family, and to say that publicly, and she did, and so they released her. Ooh. And then when it was Madame Lamballe's turn, she refused to take that oath to declare she had nothing to do with the plot that the family was being accused of, and she would not disavow the king or the queen. So as soon as she said that, she was taken out to a courtyard where a very angry crowd of people were waiting. The reports of what happened next vary, but they're all pretty horrible. The worst one is that she was raped for a few hours. Her head was removed, her heart was removed, and her genitals were removed and put on stakes and carried through the crowd. Her body was also drugged along with it, and they drug her all the way to the Temple prison and screamed for Marie Antoinette to look out the window to see what happened to her friend.
Wow, that is disturbing on so many levels.
I still, many stories that I have read that involves them putting heads on sticks and going through the crowds, it's just so disgusting and disturbing.
Yeah, like people were animals.
Yeah,
like,
it's just, I mean, when, Louis XVI was beheaded, people were dipping their handkerchiefs into his blood. And that's actually how sometimes they've been able to do DNA research on Louis XVI, because there were some of these rags. But it just seems very strange that that's the keepsake that you want.
Yeah, seriously. Like, now we have Eiffel Tower keychains. Before it was the bloody handkerchief.
Yeah, €1. But
oh my God, Lady Gaga.
Yeah, it's just really disturbing. But her body was dumped and left behind. And when a servant of the Penthievre family collected her and buried her, and it's still unknown where she's actually buried.
Oh, God, girl, why didn't you just say you pledged your allegiance to the revolution?
I know, she was not. She was standing by her queen all the way to the very end.
That poor woman. Oh, that's horrible. Horrible.
Yeah.
I'm sure so many horrible things like that happen. I mean, really, Marie Antoinette was lucky that didn't happen to her. They just cut her head off. They didn't torture her and do all that.
Yeah, it's really horrible. Madame Tussaud, of course, as everybody knows, for her, wax figurines that freak me out. She was commissioned to make a bunch of death masks for people that were killed during the terror, and so it was said that she had made one of Madame Lamballe, which I kind of wonder how that actually happened. Because she was killed so quickly after leaving court, and her, body. I mean, if they cut off her head and stuck on her stick, I don't think it was in such great,
Yeah.
But it was said to be that was one of the ones. She did over 100 different death masks, which is just such a strange thing that people did. But then they were later all destroyed between a shipwreck and a fire, and later during the ones that remained were basically lost in a bombing during the Blitz in the 1940s.
Oh, that would be so interesting to see those. How grim all these creepy death masks from their kingdom.
It is very strange. There's one of Delacroix that he specifically wrote in his will that he did not want one, and somebody made one anyway. I mean, it's just the fact that it's called a death mask and just all of it's kind of creepy. But when you look at it, it really doesn't look, I mean, you don't, it's just their face with their eyes closed.
So when people would die, they would just put like a wax thing on their face and like make an imprint and then make a mask.
Yes.
And that, like, who needed that? Like, whose idea was that?
It's just to commemorate, I guess, who they were. And it's a very strange, I guess there's that. And then, there was the wax dolls, the wax figurines of.
Oh, those are even more creepy. Eek.
Yeah, the wax life-size Henry IV. Which then it's like they did that. And then what happened to them? They put them on display for like 4 weeks. And then do they just like melt them down?
Yeah, seriously, like, oh gosh, and it would be, if it was summertime, they'd be melting on their own anyway.
I know. Like, do you just have this gigantic, candle in your house with a wick, and then you're like, oh, okay, that's good.
Put a candle on Marie Antoinette's wax hair or whatever.
Yeah, but that's probably what they use the death mask for too.
Oh my gosh, so weird. So weird.
Very, very strange.
Well, happy endings all around.
Yeah.
And well, thank you guys for tuning in again to our podcast, for supporting us. Remember, every Sunday you can take virtual live tours with Claudine, and also she does travel planning. So if you're planning a trip to France, contact her and she can help you set up the most perfect in-depth tour all these secret locations, the best tour guides. Contact Claudine today. And don't forget to tune in next week for another episode.
Thank you for listening to Paris History Avec a Hemingway. If you want to find out some more, you could always find me on my Instagram page, Claudine Bleu Blanc Rouge, and that's BLEU, as in the French way to spell it. And each day I post a daily history lesson about a person or a place or something in Paris, or it's lots of fun facts. And then also at ClaudineHemingway.com, where you can also sign up for my newsletter there.